All right, welcome in to a very special edition of the Patriots podcast. Sean and JJ not able to make this episode. We are joined by Andrew Callahan, beat writer for the Boston Herald, pass interference podcast host, big patron of cancer research. I saw your Twitter, and was it Lymphoma Leukemia Society?
Yeah, yep. Leukemia Lymphoma Society. We had a great event last night. Shout out Vitamin C, SEA Brewing in Weymouth. We raised thousands of dollars with Doug Hyde and Fitzy and a bunch of guys in the beat. It's awesome. People always think it's kind of BS when I say this, but like a lot of guys on the beat who are competitors are all really good friends. So we had a ton of them come out, and it was a great night.
Yeah, Doug seems like a great guy. I have two little girls, so it's crazy. But yeah, we'll leave a link in the description. You can donate. We really appreciate it. It's a great cause. So yeah, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be on the pod. So I know it's a busy part of the year right now. So let's jump right in. Big question on everybody's mind. Patriots picking at number 4. Obviously, we're kind of dependent on what the Browns and the Giants do at 2 and 3. What do you think? What do you like at number 4?
Yeah, so I think it's important to remember just what you said. What do the Browns do, Giants do, and all indications right now are the Browns will take Travis Hunter, and then the Giants are going to break Patriots fans' heart by taking Abdul Carter there, number 3. So the two best players in the draft are off the board. Then there's a drop off, which we heard for months. We don't have to cover that ground. If you're the Patriots, look, you got a good selection of really good players still, right? Whether it's Will Campbell, left tackle at LSU, Armand Membu, who maybe they could flip, but for now plays right tackle coming out of Missouri. Tyler Warren, really good tight end at Penn State. Ashton Jeanty, Mason Graham, all these guys. I think because we're all at the same level, this is a case where, Ryan, you don't just strictly go best player. You go, we'll take the guy who's at the same tier, but plays a position we really need. So I think it will be Will Campbell.
Yeah.
Ellis. I'm a little lower on Will Campbell than I think consensus, not because I don't think he'll have a long NFL career. He definitely will, but it's just they need him to be an outlier in terms of success, given his wingspan and his frame, where I would take Armand Membu. But look, as long as they take left tackle and we don't have to do very week 1, it should be a success.
The tackle situation's in dire need. Right now, Morgan Moses and Verdarian Lowe and Demontre Jacobs. It's just a disaster. I think that most Patriots fans at that point would like a trade down, but then you're dependent on who's willing to move up for that pick. I don't think anyone's going to jump up for a Shedeur Sanders, right? So that's a bit optimistic. And then I saw Giardi had a trade back up to get Josh Connerly. The left tackles go fast in this class, particularly Simmons and Connerly might be the guys that drop, right? So
and it's difficult to tell though, because I've been on this too, and I actually had Mike on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and I had that trade to Minnesota everyone loves because you look at the trade value charts, right? And the Jimmy Johnson one was the first. Every pick is associated with a certain number of points. That allows you to figure out what you need for a trade. So there are newer, better charts. All due respect to Jimmy Johnson, and the newer ones show that pick at 24 from Minnesota is worth exactly the number of points associated with the Patriots' second round pick and their third round picks. You package those, you move up. But like you just said, everyone wants a good left tackle, right? So Josh Simmons and Josh Connerly might be gone by then. There's a risk Patriots wait to grab one of those guys and move back up.
All right, kind of sneaky. Some of the teams there's a lot of teams that want left tackle, but sneaky. Teron Armstead retired for the Dolphins. That puts them in the running, I would think, too, at 13. I don't know what took him so long. He waited pretty long to announce that. But um, I don't think. What do you think the earliest is the Patriots think about drafting a running back with you know Stevenson's fumble issues last year, Gibson kind of getting a little bit older. Um, you think third, fourth round, or I mean, it's tough, right?
Yeah, it is tough. I'd say third round is the sweet spot for them, and it'll depend on where the board falls, which is the
Mm-hmm.
same qualifier we should add to every single draft pick. 38 feels rich to me, especially in a draft class. For running backs, it's really deep. It's unfortunate, and it sounds like stuff a GM would say when they missed out on all their targets. Oh, well, it just didn't work out. Like we don't need running backs, tight ends, positions that are deep in this class that the Patriots love to go up and get. The benefit though is waiting in that third round where the Patriots have picks at 69 and 77. And there are guys that I really like in that range. And I think that's where if you can wait, you can still get a really good change of pace back for their rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
But then maybe a guy who could elevate into a starter in 2026 and beyond, whether it's Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, who I like a lot, Bashal Tutin, who does have some fumble issues, but
Right. Yeah.
fastest back at the combine, excellent pass catcher. RJ Harvey at a UCF, who they visited with. Like these are all guys that will fit what they need now and in the long term. And I think right there in the third, maybe fourth round, like you said, would be
Yeah.
the time and place to go grab them.
Um, Not draft related. What do you think the odds are that Jalen Polk takes a step forward, plays over 50% of the snaps? I mean, right now the wide receiver room is really crowded, and if you added to that in the draft, you're looking at one or two guys. You're not going to carry seven, eight guys. They brought
No,
in.
definitely not. And that's the thing to remember too is, Ryan, I think they will add a receiver, and I'd be surprised if they didn't add one, until round five. So again, that's that same range with the running backs. It depends
Mhm.
on who's available. Specific to Paul, I do think he'll take a step forward. Then the question is, okay, well, how big? Is this big year two leap that everyone expected? Is he just the rookie that we expected to see last year? Because it's really important to remember that the position coach he had last year who's a very nice guy, spoke with him multiple times, Tyler Hughes, had never coached a position group at the college level before, never done so at the NFL level before. He is now working as an analyst at the University of Alabama. So they're not even having you be the assistant receivers coach. I think everyone in that room is going to see a bump from Todd Downing, who's not coach receivers, to be fair, but has been a quarterbacks coach, coach tight ends, been an offensive coordinator on an interim basis. They're going to get much better coaching all the way around. And I think for a guy who dealt with some struggles and was too hard on himself, frankly, Jalen Polk and got in his own way,
Yeah,
something I can relate to.
yeah,
He'll be better. But 50 is a really good number. It's an interesting number because that says he starts, right? And
yeah,
it's hard to envision that right now.
yeah. It was tough. It was tough to watch last year. It definitely looked like something mental going on. And then the other one, Javon Baker. Have you heard anything? Do you see anything as far as taking a step forward? I thought talent wise he deserved to be on the field, a little bit more last year.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part, right? The things that we can't see are generally things that we don't know. And with
Mm-hmm.
him, one of those was his ability to absorb the playbook and just know where to be and what to do. That's
Right.
fundamental, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't know where to put your mic, you're not doing a podcast. If he
Yeah.
doesn't know how far to run, a dig route or a skinny post, then Drake May's not going to throw him the ball and the coaches aren't going to put him on the field. So the fact that Baker, and this was both my favorite and least favorite stat from the entire season last year, had the same number of catches as the left tackle kind of tells you how things will work.
Oof.
Patriots needed receiver help. Yes, Vidarian Lowe had the same number of catches as he did. One more touchdown. But the point is, yes, the talent's there. I've heard encouraging things that he has connected with Vrabel and wants to really show that talent. But Ryan, we have to remember there were character issues with him coming out, right?
Right.
Whether he was the right fit. And if he feels in any kind of way that, oh, it was everyone else's fault last year that I had one catch, well, then he's still missing the plot here. So I don't know what that is. You certainly hope that a kid matures and grows, but I'll need to see it because fourth round picks who didn't make an impact as a rookie are not guaranteed roster spots in year two.
No, no. And then Kayshawn Booty took a step forward last year as well. I mean, they had a lot of confidence, it sounded like, coming in. Polk with, saying he had the best hands in the league. Baker saying, what do you say? Get your popcorn. Oh, I make people in wheelchairs stand up. You remember that? Oh my God.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so let's say, I mean, optimistically, those two guys take a step forward. How, I mean, right now it's seven guys. You can't carry that many
Yeah.
guys, so
No,
who?
no, and that's the beauty of competition. And, so I do think there will be multiple guys currently in the roster that are not going to be here. And maybe you have one because this guy's been in trade rumors forever. Kendrick Bourne, we haven't even talked about. Like if
Yeah.
best case scenario, right, for the Patriots. Kendrick Bourne might be your receiver 4 or 5 because that means Baker, like you said, took a step forward. Diggs is healthy. You drafted someone. Pop Douglas is in there. And then you're like, well, the guy who's reliable but is a low salary, teams that have injured receivers, maybe we can trade him. Like, I don't know who would get cut, as I think that's where the question was going. But I
Yeah,
think they just say, look, we're going to get a bunch of you in here. None of you are guaranteed anything. You need to compete and work your ass off. And then we'll see where that goes.
right. Yeah, I mean it's a crowded room right now. I just don't know if they could get anything for Polk. I mean, I feel like they've already tried, or not Polk, um, Kendrick Bourne, because he's a good locker room guy at the very least.
Mhm.
So you would hope they would, yield some kind of return instead of just cutting him. Linebacker room looks a little crowded now with Landry, Mapu. I would assume they dial down with all the amount of safeties. Spillane, Tavai, Ellis, Gibbons, Jennings, kind of more of an edge.
Yep.
Who do you think gets priority as far as those guys?
Yeah, I think Ryan with the linebackers, it's important to separate them like you just did in terms of the edge guys
Mm-hmm.
and then those guys who play off the ball. And especially because there's a new prototype with those off the ball linebackers under Mike Vrabel, where on average, the guys he had in Tennessee and he has brought in here are about like 228 to 235 pounds. So Landry will start on one edge. I think Keon White and Anthony Jennings are in a battle for the opposite spot. If they don't draft someone on the edge, which I think they will do,
Mm-hmm.
maybe on D2 even, if not day one, if they really want to surprise us. And then off the ball, Robert Spillane got a big contract. He's a 233-pound guy, super productive in Vegas. Before that, Pittsburgh, and then obviously started with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, which is how he caught his eye. And then you're kind of mixing and matching. Like Jelani Tavai is still around. I think it will be interesting to see what his role is. I'd imagine full time on the edge, but he doesn't really fit in this system right now. So there's a spot for him. But when you're looking at both of those spots, I think they want to add some youth on the edge because Jennings is still around, but was not like a Vrabel guy. Landry certainly is. Keon White can fit in most systems,
Mm-hmm.
and then off the ball, like they've added Vrabel guys. We kind of know Giddens is going to stick. Ellis was brought back on a big contract in Spillane, so they're pretty set off ball. It's on the edge where there's a little bit more of a question.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if they're going to use Barmore or Milton Williams as a 4-3 end or 3-4 end. Um, Keon White's there. It seems like there's a hole at the other position in a four down, um, like a 4-3, right? So it's Keon White, Milton Williams, and you're hoping Barmore is healthy. Any indication with Barmore that he's going to be all right? I know he came back, then he had to leave again with the blood clots. Um, I saw him in the weight room. He looked like he was in really good shape. So I just there is concern. There's got to be concern there as far as that coming back, the blood
Yeah, no
clots.
question about it. It's scary, and I think the fact that they did return the blood clot associated symptoms is what really kind of scares you because now you go like, okay, well, how long can you wait to find out? And if they do pop up again, it feels like you might never be able to return to football. And let's be clear, like that's on the table right now.
Yeah,
But the last I heard a couple of weeks ago, they were cautiously optimistic about Barmore, and there's more of a runway now. And I think this new staff will be more patient than last year's staff was because remember, he got diagnosed in late July, right? Before they even got to padded practice and training camp. He comes back and plays on November 24th against the Rams. That week in practice, he appeared once on a Thursday, and it was not padded. So that man went without a padded practice from early January 2024 all the way until
that's wild.
November 24th, 2024, which is insane.
Yeah,
And then he played for 4 weeks and the symptoms recurred. And this isn't to say that had he been in pads one day, that would have changed anything. But the point is, there were people in the front office who were frustrated by that. And the coaching staff thought it was ready to go. And obviously, the medical people involved. Mike Vrabel's not in a rush. And you want him on the field as much as possible and Milton Williams. And if he doesn't play in the preseason or even week 1 or 2, that's fine. You're trying to get as much football out of him as possible. If that means being patient, it means being patient, but they're still waiting and seeing because it's a unique case.
yeah. Well, I am excited about the new coaching staff. That was kind of crazy last year. What happened? Are there any assistants on the staff that jumped out to you as impressive in interviews? I know they did some interviews the other day. Um, anyone that jumps out as far as
Yeah, not at the top. Yeah, Ryan, like it is good to get some FaceTime with these guys, right? Because it's
yeah,
only 15 minutes and just give you a visual. Like when you walk into the media room at Gillette, you walk in the back, there are rows of seats that are facing a podium up at the front where we see those press conferences. And to the left, you have offices with doors that are shut. And within those smaller cubicles, which is for like, ESPN, NBC Sports Boston, we have one of the Herald. So when the coaches come in, They don't all go to the podium at the front where Mike Vrabel would speak or Drake May would speak. They go into those little different offices. There are signs. Here's Ashton Grant, the quarterback's coach. There's Doug Marrone, the offensive line coach. Josh McDaniels, whatever.
Hmm.
And so you kind of have to bop around these 15 minutes. All of which is to say, I still lean on the resume part more than the interviews because we only have 15 minutes and we're bopping around. But there's just been a whole staff-wide upgrade, I think, frankly, that everyone should be excited about in terms
Yeah.
of experience, diversities of being in different systems, and the fact that Josh McDaniels is now working with guys who didn't come up in the same system as he did, and you can steal ideas and translate, and even teaching techniques is going to be really, really helpful. So you could say Doug Marrone, I wouldn't argue with it. You
Yeah.
could say Thomas Brown, tight ends coach, passing game coordinator. Wouldn't argue with you. I
Yeah.
talked a lot with Ashton Grant because he's from like 30 minutes from my hometown and he's a young guy and wasn't handpicked by Josh McDaniels to coach the quarterbacks, but is regarded as a really, really good guy. So, Ashton Grant was cordial and open to a degree and answer questions about Drake May. I like him a little bit more than before, but just like the players, right? Like you got to see it on the field.
Right.
We love to
Yeah.
hear what Alex Van Pelt had to say. The offense stunk. It didn't mean much yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right. Anyone in the draft jump out to you? Who are some of your favorite guys?
I love this. The draft crushes. We
Yeah.
just did 2 episodes of my podcast. We had 12 guys on offense, 11 on defense that I think really, really fit for this team. So I'll give you a couple. We'll do defense first.
Okay.
Mid rounds, there are going to be guys that you just go scream, okay, that's a Mike Vrabel guy. And I'll give you two on defense. Ty Robinson, who's a defensive tackle at Nebraska, six
Yep.
foot five, 288 pounds. This is where all the beat writers, by the way, do their best like Mel Kiper impression. Like he'll give you the
Yeah.
height, the weight, and the speed. He was a 5-year starter at Nebraska, where they revered him for leadership, character. He got a ton of pressure. He's a guy that you can play across the defensive line and fits all of the physical prototypes under this new Vrabel system that they're going to want at that position, in addition to the football character. So there's not one trait that kind of wows you, but he was super productive, super experienced, smart. And on top of that is a guy that I think that they look at and say, you can play right away. Because right now their third defensive tackle is Kyrus Tonga. You take some of the freaks athletically, a little bit more of a projection, but for Ty Robinson, there's no doubt that he can play a one technique to a three. If you really want to kick him out to a five, you can do that. And plus, he played fullback for 6 snaps. Like the man's carried the football, so that versatility, a little
Yeah.
Vrabel could be there. Number two, Baron Sorrell, outside linebacker from Texas. Again, checks all of the boxes physically. Also a physical freak, like sawed off edge rusher, squats almost 600 pounds, bench is 425. He is a relentless motor. The only knocks you have on him are going 100 miles an hour all the time and needs to slow down. But Vrabel wants violent guys. He wants nonstop guys. He wants to finish and compete. Sorrell is all of those, in addition to being a captain for 8 games over at Texas. Really productive, a lot of pressure. Not like a super bendy athlete, but both of those guys, third, fourth round. And one on offense, I'll give you. Trying to pick the receiver. I mean, you can go in a couple different directions here at
Yeah.
receiver. I like Alec Iomenor out of Stanford, who did have some drops. But when you look at what the Patriots need, it's not the shifty slot guys. They're really looking forward to Pop Douglas this year. It's not guys who are going to play at the Z receiver, outside, strong side of the formation. You need an X, a guy on the weak side of the formation who's going to get one-on-ones and can go up and get the ball and separate when you need him to. Alec Iomenor is 6'2", 212 pounds, I think, runs a
Hmm.
4.4, has all the physical tools you can't teach. He was in one of the worst passing situations last year at Stanford,
Yeah.
all of major college
Yeah.
football, but does dynamic stuff with the ball. And whether it's go up and go get it, pull away from defenders, that's a guy that if they can fix some drops issues, which are very real,
Yeah.
at the third round, where you're probably going to take a receiver, he should be available. You develop that talent out of him. There are not many players in the draft like him, and I think they're going to love him also because he busts his ass run blocking, and that's really going to appeal, I think, to this
Yeah.
offense and the head coach.
Yeah. I think that was another reason they brought in Matt Collins.
Yes.
I, Iomenor, former track star, big, physical, fast. I think he had his best game against Colorado.
Yeah, against Travis Hunter.
Gave Travis Hunter some fits there, so that's a good shout. I've seen him go as high as the second round, but I don't. It seems to be, kind of consensus. He's dropping a little bit. Like Sorrell, those are good. Those are good shouts. Ty Robinson, the versatility. Love those picks. So yeah, I think that just about covers it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for dropping into the podcast. Learn some really good stuff and donate to this. What is it? Leukemia and
Yeah,
Lymphoma
Leukemia
Society.
and Lymphoma Society. I really appreciate Ryan extending that because we're trying to raise $100,000 for Doug Kyde. And just to give the background, just really quickly for folks who listen, Doug lost his daughter, Hallie, who was 2 years old, just over a year ago. And so the best thing that he said, his wife has said, his older daughter, Olivia, has said that they can do is to hopefully prevent this from ever happening again. So when you donate to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, I have a link pinned to my Twitter that you can find. You can email me, acallahan@bostonherald.com. The money there goes to cancer research. It goes to families that need it. And so we continue to try to raise more money and awareness. If you have a second, which you do, you're listening to the podcast right now. You
Yeah.
can't be too
Yeah.
busy. We'd really appreciate it. If not, give it a retweet. And I know you've been very kind to kind of do the same. And we
Absolutely.
had a great event last night, but we're still raising more money. So I appreciate the time on here, Ryan, really.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. We'll check in after the draft, see if we can do it again.
You got it. Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll have a couple more things coming up in the next week. We got a mock draft we're gonna do, and I think we're gonna do at least 2 rounds, and we'll have all the guys in there for that. Maybe another couple special guests. So stay connected, and we'll talk to you soon. Please give us a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and see if you can donate. I mean, if you can't donate, that's fine, but spread the word and hopefully get some eyes on a good cause. Appreciate you guys for listening.